All right, welcome back to the Perform Podcast. Today's obviously going to be a bit of a special episode. We get to, I guess, learn and get to know one of our day ones, Mr. Ben Cowdray. But like I said, we obviously just to get some coffees and get ourselves settled in. But I got two goals from today's podcast. So the first one's getting to know you and our crew getting to know you.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure if they want to. Or...
Yeah, it's touch and go on that.
We'll keep it PG
Yeah,
for the kids. For the kids. Yeah. And the biggest one going back to that is you're a man of much wisdom
yeah,
and much experience.
yeah. I'm not the oldest guy in the gym anymore, which is I'm pretty thankful for, but I was for a long period of time. So, obviously had everyone fooled because of my boyish good looks and stuff like that. And the inability to grow facial hair. But yeah, I am 32.
Club, mate.
Yeah.
What does Keith call it? Pinoir of
Depending on aging like the wine.
of Perform. But the second one just being being education, and I'll try my best to pour as much of that out of you. But I think it'll just be natural as we get into it and get going. We'll learn a lot, I'm sure. But first one off the cuff, I think we're just talking about it in the car before, just to get things rolling.
Yeah.
Favorite Olympic sport?
Oh, it's the kayaking. Yeah, and the women's specifically, just because it's it bewilders me. I'm a man of very little upper body strength due to my proportions are pretty limmy. So kayaking's an absolute nightmare sport for me, and I find it incredibly fascinating. Also, the old Jessie Fox is not bad on the eyes. If anybody wants to get behind her during the Olympics, any other fellow perverts out there, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think we are talking as well. We were talking about this in the last podcast. Some pretty unique sports in the Olympics, and especially one being like the handball. That was pretty wild watching that.
Yeah, no, handball's crazy. It's because obviously it's a European sport. None of us know about it.
Yeah.
None of us never grown up playing it, or if you did, chances are you didn't have any friends at school or something. Something hell obscure. It's just the different hand and eye coordination or hand-eye coordination and movements and stuff like that. So unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Adam would probably be obviously huge on it with the landing components and some of the stuff like that. Shout out Komatsu.
All right, so let's go back in time a bit. How long have you been at Perform for, and when did you start?
Well, I think I came here 2 or 3 months after you guys opened, I'm pretty sure. So I moved up from Mandurah to Innaloo to move in with my missus. Shout out Duty. And I was pretty much struggling to find a gym. Louis Meldrum, he used to go to this gym. I hit him up.
He actually messaged me just before going, "Are you going to the gym today?" So.
Well, he didn't do much in the footy field yesterday, so
true.
Yeah, he
might need those top ups today.
He might need the top ups. Yeah, maybe get on the bike, do some cardio, lose some pudding. But he, I was reaching out. I've known Louis since he was 12, 13 years old. I'm a bit older than him, but so no, it's not as weird as it sounds. But he's good friends with my sister, so he lived up here, and I was like, the scene that Perform place, it looks sick. What are the dates? I'll drop through, and he was like, come by, talk to Isaac, and you got to chatting, and I was like, this, what I want to do to sort of try and take my footy to the next level, and I think it must be at least 2 years.
So we've been open for nearly 3 in September.
Yeah, so it must be about 2.5 years then. Yeah, which is crazy. Time flies when you're having fun. And haven't looked back since. It's been definitely the best decision I've made for my footy career. Prolonged it. I mean, my whole idea was just geez, if I can get through to 30, still playing, I'll be stoked.
Yeah.
But now I'm 32, still playing. I still think I've got pretty reasonable output as far as that goes. And it's definitely a huge portion of that comes down to programming from Keith, and obviously being able to access you guys and learn learn about my own body from you guys and, the best way forward. And, obviously when Jess was here, she was a huge help, just get me through bits and pieces. And, great resources here. It's been, best thing I've done for sure.
Had you done strength and conditioning before, prior to that?
So I had to actually take a year off footy because my hamstrings got that bad. And so in that year off, I was like, I'm going to get into the gym. Then I sort of, fell into the trap of seeing the, he was a lifestyle coach. I'm not going to drag anyone through the mud here, no names. He was charging me like $90 a week for like a strength and conditioning nutrition plan, but that was a bit more of like, I think it was a bit more aesthetically based. But it definitely got, it sparked the thing in my brain. I was like, oh, okay, like, it's really good. Start seeing results pretty quickly, mainly because I wasn't really gymming a lot before that. So, you get the old, the initial, the bulk and stuff like that that your body gets. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And, it wasn't really, that didn't have a lot to do with the footy for sure. But the strength and conditioning phase, as far as that goes, was new to me when I came here. Just especially with the weird, wonderful exercises get programmed from you guys. So,
how's those hammies now?
Oh, the hammies are they're good. They're good. Yeah. Obviously I only had a little trip up, but that was the only time. I think I saying that to Adam the other day. The only time I've had a soft tissue injury since I've been at this gym was when I played in the state league last year, and that morning I was actually a little bit hungover, and I decided not to do my primers that morning, and probably had a little bit to do with the hangover. But I would say I probably had a bit more to do. I had as much
alcohol and performance don't mix too.
No, they don't. No. But which was honestly is news to me. I didn't see it coming. But the primers obviously is one big thing that you guys have introduced to me, and I didn't do that, and did my hammy, but then through Jess and you guys, program done and working with Jess, and then next thing you know, I was back on the field and everything was gravy again. So
cool. So it's definitely been an important piece, and because that's one thing we want to try and do. Like I said at the start, I want to try and pass some lessons down, and I feel like you probably agree with this. Is like you wish you knew back then what you know now.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's like trying to like respect and understand and value that looking after your body part. Like you obviously where you were at 29, 30, whatever it was, thinking about, I don't know how much I got longer, started to do proper S&C, and now you're like, oh, I got a few more years in the tank, I'm feeling better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like it's interesting that what it usually takes to get that buy-in, but if you had a piece of advice, so say they're playing footy right now, they're 16, 17, 18, 19, like, oh yeah, I might go to the gym once or twice a week. Like, would you have any advice for them?
Oh, I think like it's the thing, it's the age-old thing where you just like, don't leave it too late. I had the issue where my body started to go because I did leave it too late. I was playing, waffle level footy, and I did have a lot of guidance and stuff from, I suppose, S&C coaches, but obviously the field has changed so much since, being 32, so I would have been like 18, 19 when I started getting some really bad soft tissue injuries. So what was known about that, what we know now about that, obviously compared to what we knew back then, was, vastly different. And I would just say, just access the resources you have. Obviously you guys, you have a lot of Trinity boys and stuff like that. Like they're in a really, really lucky position to have you guys where they have access to resources where they can learn about their body, learn about how they react to certain training, and just my one piece of advice would just be don't leave it too late. Learn about the stuff now, try and implement it as much as you can so that it just becomes second nature, I guess.
Yeah.
Like that's my thing now, even older. It's just like I'm going to the gym 3 times a week. I have to go to the gym 3 times a week. Otherwise I'm not going to get up on the weekend. Yeah. But that's something that's been implemented over a long period of time, I guess, just due to the fact it's out of necessity. But I wish I had that opportunity when I was younger, where it was just like, oh, I'm doing this to get better.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I am getting better, but the necessity part plays about 95% of the role. Yeah.
It's hard when it shifts into that side. It's like you're trying to, because I know especially like with our AFL boys, like with Keith, he obviously runs that, and the boys will have school footy, they'll have club footy, they'll have all these other bits and pieces, and the thought process that S&C is just like, you got to hammer yourself.
Yeah.
But I know for you, because that's one of the questions later a bit down the track, but like usually the hardest part is just getting to the gym.
Yeah.
And then when you get here, like I like look at the program you use, like it doesn't always need to be. It's not always heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, heavy all this kind of stuff. A lot of it's just
No,
like
unfortunately not, but
yeah, as much as you want to just
yeah.
rip some weight
Yeah,
around,
just
trot
some
around.
ego lifting after a tough day at the office. Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
no, yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, go on.
oh, but yeah, I was just saying, it's just like um, for that younger crew that's listening, it's like it's important to know that it doesn't always like you can go in. One of the goals is obviously to walk out feeling better,
Yeah.
which I'm sure for you, for most part,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
is walking out feeling better. So just getting that understanding and like, yeah, like what's a normal week look like for you at the moment?
Yeah, and on top of that, it's a I suppose part of it is um no, actually I totally forgot what I was going to say. No, we'll leave that anyway. Normal weight for me is essentially Monday. Keith has ISOs.
Yeah.
The name of the program is ISOs and stuff that makes us feel like we're 21 again. It's I was a little bit resistant to it at the start, just because the last time he programmed something for me like that was when he programmed animal movement for me, and I still lose sleep over that.
PTSD over that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for those who don't know, because I've been here for 2 years and I was here when Keith first started. I've been his guinea pig this whole time, so he will implement things for me, and he's
so
just like, let's see how it reacts with Benny, and then I'll give it to some of my other clients that I probably care about a little bit more. No, just kidding, Keithy. But no, it's yeah, ISOs and stuff that makes me feel like 21 again. So it's Monday after footy, Sunday I'm pretty raggedy, like I'm today. Then it's just a slight sort of build up, a little bit of I suppose stretching, isolated movements. I've got like a runner's knee, so that needs a little bit of attending to come Monday. Then Tuesday is basically just straight into. Well, on Monday we also have footy training as well, so it sort of works out well that everything's sort of stretched out and work before I go for
So
a
you'll
slight
come in
drop.
before training, do some ISOs,
Yeah.
and then go down to training on Monday.
Yeah, and that's a big part of me being able to get to training on Mondays as well, is just the fact that I've done the extra work. I'm like, okay, I'm warm. I'm in my head. I'm like, I'm not going to do a soft tissue injury today because I've done a little bit of work today. So, and then Tuesday is a bit more of like the full body type jobby, just sort of a little bit of power movement, things like that. That sort of my body's feeling a bit better today. All right, let's try and get what I can out of it for the time being. I don't have training on Tuesdays, so it's an optimal time to do it.
It's like the furthest away from game day that you feel the best, that you can shift some weight around and get that stimulus that you need to stay fast, strong.
Yeah, exactly. And it's I think it's essential to have those days when you are training, because you can quickly lose interest in training, like when you're just doing stuff that you're like, oh, I know I have to do this, but I really fucking do not want to.
Yeah.
So you can lose interest in it. So it's good to have at least that one day where you're like, oh, I'm shifting some weight around today. This is cool. I feel better. More of a mental thing, I think, than anything. And then Wednesday I have footy training as well. That's usually our biggest session. But so before then, I'll usually come in here. I'll do a little bit of rolling before my session starts and all that. And then I do an upper body hypertrophy session, which is just more of a, I suppose it's an aesthetical feature, I guess. But I'm always under the impression, look good, play good at the end of the day. And like I said before as well, that I'm really limmy, so I need to do at least one hypertrophy session, upper body hypertrophy session a week. Otherwise, I'm not going to look very intimidating on the football field, and it's an integral part. So
mental game.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, it's and then Thursday I'll have my rest day, and then Friday I have the option of if I'm feeling good to maybe do some more ISOs and a little bit upper body stuff. But generally I'll take that day as not an all-out rest day, but I'll do some yoga and some stretching and stuff like that on Friday whilst I'm watching the footy at home, relaxing.
Yeah.
Well, not recommended, but I'll always have 2 or 3 beers at home, not for footy. Helps me relax,
Tradition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm not
tradition, mate.
No, absolutely. And there's carbs in beer, and technically it's carb loading. It goes well with the spag bog if you're heading that way. But no, it's pretty much finding something that helps you relax. Obviously, it's not detrimental to my health having 2 or 3 beers.
Do you get nervous before a game, the night before a game?
Not anymore. I used to get, when I was like younger playing more for footy, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be in my next stage, playing league or footy, or it's still in my head. I was like, oh, I can still play AFL, So I was like, I had that pressure on me where I was like, oh, it's do or die tomorrow. It's do or die tomorrow. But now I'm like, I've been playing footy for almost 27 years now, really,
Yeah,
if you count Auskick and stuff like that. So it's just another day at the office now, and I feel like I'm probably the last couple of years, or at least the last 3 years since, being here, I'm playing the best footy I've ever played, just purely based on the fact that I'm just settled. I love playing footy. I go out there, I used to get a little bit aggro on the footy field every now and again, talk shit. I used to actually be the worst when I was playing fullback and having played a good full forward. It used to be like, I'm going to get in their head, and I used to go on like Facebook pages during the week and find out.
Oh, you're that guy.
The sister's name, their girlfriend's name, their
Jesus.
girlfriend's name, all that. Just the worst.
Yeah.
And but funny, but now these days I'm like, I'm just gonna, I love playing footy. I love the guys that I play footy with. This is just a fun day of the week for me. Like I'm gonna go out, no stress, play with a little bit of freedom. And I think that brings a little bit of flair into your game as well, because you're just like,
there's no pressure on you. You can just be yourself.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's when you play your best footy at the end of the day, or best any sport, is when you're just like, all right, well, I've done the work during the week, especially if you're working hard, as well. I've done the work during the week. I'm going to go out. I'm going to line up next to my opponent. I'm going to have a certain air of confidence and arrogance, because I know how much I train during the week. I know how much it takes for me to get up.
Yeah.
And I know there's no way the guy I'm standing next to has done the same amount of work as I have during the week.
Yeah.
So you're just like, oh, let's go for a run around. Let's have fun, bit of play. And, have full confidence that they're going to be spending most of the day chasing you, and just have fun and celebrate the little things, and just don't get nervous anymore. It's just because it's just fun. It's nothing to be nervous about. And obviously the fact that we don't lose many games helps as well. But
winning always fixes everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did come from a losing college before I switched teams a couple of years ago. So,
well, that's a really good perspective. That's a really good perspective. I even feel like that from a coaching perspective. Like I apart from yesterday, I slowly over the years, the emotion starts to wear out, and you just get that calm air about yourself, and you're obviously in it during the game, and everything like that. And there's highs and lows and everything like that, but it doesn't take away as much as it used to.
Yeah.
And like you said, you're just playing your own game. You're doing your job and your role. You're confident in your role, and then whatever happens on the day happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And with coaching, I know from an AFL perspective, I'm not sure about what it's like rugby, but a lot of really highly touted first-year coaches that were great AFL players usually they'll only get a 1 or 2 year coaching gig, and then they have to go back to being an assistant coach. And when they come back after doing their time away and learning to be in the position a little bit more, they're always way better, because they're like, oh, okay, I'm not stressed. Like, my life's not on the line. At the end of the day, I can just go back to assistant coaching. It's not like, like Michael Voss is a good example. He played out at Brisbane legend, Brownlow medalist, 3 triple premiership player out there, coached Brisbane, went to shit.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Port Adelaide, went to a few other places, assistant coach for a bit. Now he's gone to, to Carlton, who are a crazy big team, one of the biggest, largest supporter bases in the AFL. And, he's doing a great job with them. And, that comes with, especially, going and coaching the team that, he loves and has so much respect for and played so many years for. And then, going there, failing, and then, unless you have a different mindset, like Craig McRae from Collingwood, he went in there and he's just like, obviously Collingwood won the premiership last year, and that's a huge deal to do, just purely based on the fact that he went in there with an attitude where he's like, I'm a fun coach. Let's just take the stress off all the boys. I'm going to encourage you to play with a little bit of flair. We're going to have fun, blah, blah, blah. And, that comes, if you have the right playing group and stuff, it comes with the respect. And, and he's just always looks chilled. He's never spent the dummy, coaching on the sidelines, having fun with the boys, giving them high fives, dapping them up. It's like,
I feel like that coaching style, I think we can go into this anyway, but that coaching style is slowly dying out.
Yeah.
Because it's like the players don't respond well. Like, I remember back in the day when I was in juniors, and you just get abused. Yeah. Something goes wrong, and it's just a hurling, and it's like, he's a da-da-da-da-da, and it's like anything. You repeat that year after year, and you're like, you go, oh, he's about to abuse us. Yeah, sweet. Okay, yeah, cool. Whatever. Like, no, but I think things are moving much, especially because the game's getting so structured. Things are becoming so much more objective, where it's like, just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Don't scream at me, but where am I? What position am I in? Where do I need to move?
Yeah.
What am I lacking in? Sweet, that's my role.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like someone like you that's quite objective in your game, and
process driven. Yeah.
IQ's quite high as well. You can go, all right, oh, okay, so I'm not saying that. I'll do that now. Boom, we'll get the ball, score points, whatever it might be, and win.
Yeah. One of the guys I play with is he's a great dude. Funny guy. He says some silly things every now and again. But one thing he said the other week that stuck with me when we were in the change rooms, we were talk was when we lost, and he was like, "Okay, we're analysing this game, analysing like it was half time. You know, we're not playing great. We're analysing this game, but saying everything that we're doing wrong. But what are the measurables?
Yeah.
What are we actually going to do? What's something that we can measure that we can go out and do? Because you'll find yourself in a loop, like especially during the week, and you know you'd be like, yeah, I had some goal kicking problems a few weeks ago, and I was just like, oh, like what am I going to do? You know, like, but then you go back to something like that where it's like measurable. It's okay. Am I going back? Am I doing my process right? Am I probably doing enough during the week? Probably not. It's faded away a bit. I went away to Bali for a couple of weeks, didn't touch footy, come back, kick like 3 goals, 4. And when you're playing down forward, it's not like you can't be really returning your rate like that. It starts to seep in. You're like, okay, go to training this week, go back to the measurables.
Yeah.
7 steps, three paced kick. You know, like, and you know, it sort of just comes back as long as you just have things like that where you can fall back on. Same with your training and stuff like that. If you're in a form slump, you're like, oh, well, is my training working for me? Chances are probably is. So I'll just keep doing it until things work out. Or if it's not, then change something. Go from there. Yeah. You got to have something that's measurable quantity every single week.
And again, we're trying to pass a bit of education down, but that's because sport gets very emotional. And it gets very emotional from the supporters and then from the players and da-da-da. So if you can find those measurables in your game, whether it be a kick percentage, whether it could be in rugby, it could be conversion percentage, it could be how many carries you did, what's your percentage of tackle completion, and then exactly like you said, you go, all right, what's that stat? What am I missing? Is it tackles or whatever it is? Why am I missing my tackles? Yeah. Oh, okay, I'm going too high. Why am I going too high? I'm getting lazy in my footwork or something like that.
Yeah, so I probably need up my cardio, or you know, like it can be so many different passages of things, and it's and that's why it's good to be here, or you know, it's good to have other high IQ players that you play with or something like that, where you got to be a little bit vulnerable and go to them and just be like, hey, I think I'm overanalyzing this. But what do you think? You know, and just like full transparency, what do you think is going on? Or, you know, come here and explain to you guys and be like, look, I'm probably having a bit of this in my game at the moment. Here's what I think it is. Do you have any sort of outside perspective on what might fix that? Or am I just being a fucking idiot and I'm just like, I'm overthinking. I just had to just go back to doing what I'm doing, like.
Yeah. But again, we'll just come back to that fact that there's a few things missing and you're so used to having a certain success rate, it's dropping back because you're maybe being lazy or getting into the gym, maintaining your strength, maintaining your conditioning, whatever it might be. Yeah. So
just got to have a grounding point, like a central grounding point where you always come back to. And if you don't have that, then you're just going to find yourself in a spiral, and that's just not good for if you're trying to make it at any level.
Yeah, 100%. So going back to obviously like had the hamstring niggles, you wanted to get in and get your body right. I'm going to try and go around to a question. Why were you so motivated to come back for another year? What's happened in your history of AFL? Some other players might have experienced similar. I don't know if it's probably the same number. But
no. So I've had a very unfortunate run with my finals campaigns over a long period of time. Six failed ones at the end of the line, and just haven't been able to get over that hurdle. So a big, large portion of that when I came here was, I was like, talked about the number, and obviously talked about him before. Louis Meldrum, rest in peace. He has the exact opposite issue where he keeps winning flags, so I can't really go to him for advice or anything like that. But it's when you play footy for I think at the time I came here, obviously it was probably 25 years, and you have so many failed experiences, and you start to think, what's the one thing I want to do in my footy career that I haven't been able to do? It's just like, you have the individual accolades, like, like goal kickers, best and fairest, all that sort of stuff. But what does it really mean at the end of the day if you don't have the ultimate success? And you do start to get in your head a little bit like that. And you start to hold a little bit of resentment for the teams you were playing for and stuff like that. And I think obviously I came here about halfway through it was halfway through the year I came here and I talked about that, and the team was sort of in a position where we might play finals, we might not. But I was like, oh, I'm just gonna have to do everything that I can do to sort of push us over the line. Failed again. That really stunk, and then ended up getting approached in the off season to go out to Kalani with Louis Meldrum, and they won the premiership the year before. They were looking at they were losing a bunch of players. They wanted to fill some spaces, and obviously hit me and Louis up, and we took that. For those who don't know, Kalani, it's about 2 hours 45, 3 hours if you're not following the speed limit, from Perth, out the wheat belt. Great town, great community. Loved every moment out there, and obviously in conjunction with you guys, allowed me to finally tick that box last year, which was the best feeling in the world.
So I've got this photo.
Yeah.
So me and your coach drove 3 hours.
Yeah. Shout out.
Also, side note, I'm never getting in the car with Keith again.
Yeah, I heard some stories about that car.
That was probably the most stressful day. We had a couple grand finals on, and we were not missing your grand final.
Yeah.
There was no way. Like, we got there later shit. We got there probably for the last quarter.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we did, because we turned up, we walked around to the side, the hooter goes, and I've got this photo of you standing, everyone's running in, and you've got your hands by your side and you're just looking up to the air, and it's like you let all your air out, and you're just like this with this biggest smile on your face.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like?
It's like a tension relief sort of thing, you carry that around for such a long period of time where you're like, like I said before, what does my footy career mean if I don't have the ultimate success? All anybody ever wants to do is win flags. I mean, there might be some people out there who want to win BNFs and stuff like that, probably playing for the wrong reason, but the ultimate glory, when you're playing in a flag, just
with your mates
as well, and especially new mates, and just that feeling of just standing there. It was probably about 5 seconds of it was more like disbelief, and I was waiting for it to sort of kick in a little bit, and then it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was like, oh shit, I've done it. Like, this is the last hurdle was ticked off. Definitely had a couple tears flowing, and you go around. Louis ran straight over me, because obviously it's why he wanted to go out there with me was because he was really motivated as well to get me that flag, and it was awesome. And then obviously to see you guys afterwards. Like, I had my little nephew there. He ran out to the middle of the ground when I was shaking all the other players' hands and stuff like that. That was like, just having everyone there, and was just the best feeling in the world. Pretty undescribable, actually. But yeah, that photo probably does sum it up. But yeah, just it felt how it looked like that. Yeah, it's like it had a build up in my chest, and then it just went. So much.
27 years of sport's a long time.
So long, man. So long.
It's a long time.
So
and
long.
It's like, it's obviously, it's ingrained into us from a young age to win. That's why we're out there, is to win. And
teamwork as well. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, winning for your team, doing the things what you need for your team. And it's sacrifice.
When it pays off, and I was like, even like for you, it was like, I could even see for Keith, because obviously there's people in the background that put a lot of work in. Even for him, it was like, he was so happy for you to see you win that.
Yeah, Keith's always been such a big supporter like that. He's wears his heart in his sleeve. Great man. He's completely and utterly emotionally invested in every single one of his clients. And yeah, I mean, I can imagine what it would have been like for him. I mean, he had a massive smile on his face, so I could see, which he always does, but it was slightly bigger than usual. But seeing him like that was, was another big thing, because, it's like, you do feel like you do it together. It's a partnership sort of thing, especially when if you're in here 3 or 4 times a week, it's as much as like a coach mentorship or blah, 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 however you want to look at it and then, it becomes a friendship as well, but probably more so if you're putting in the work, and obviously with your coach as well, and then your coach starts to appreciate you because you follow the program, you get the results. So yeah, no, it was good to be able to do it for for other people as well as myself, I think that was probably the good thing in seeing them.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't like see that behind the scenes. It's like those little conversations from the week to week, and you've got a little niggle here or niggle there, and he's going to go in and adjust the program. How does that feel? Does that feel good? Yeah, sweet. What's happening this week at training? Oh, I'm a bit low on motivation, a bit low on drive. Sweet, when I'm like going to change stuff. And like it is like a lot of people. It's not even the years of that. It's even just the year of like the ups and downs, the highs and lows, and the work that goes in behind the scenes. And it's for any premiership.
Yeah,
there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to make that happen.
Yeah.
And it's incredible to watch.
Yeah. Well, that was shout out Jess as well. When I did do my hammy that year,
it was back end, wasn't it?
It was right towards the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I returned with 1 game left before finals, and even that was probably like touch and go. But I was like, I have to get back. I have to prove to myself I'm going to be like right for finals, because I swear to God, if I miss out, like, you know, we'd only lost 2 games to the point of that year. We're ahead of the pack by, you know, a fair way, and we're always going to be really, really big chance of winning flag. And I was like, oh my God, like, you know, you start getting a little bit of PTSD, like, because I have had so many hamstring. I've torn each hamstring off the bone once each, and then outside of that, I probably would have had 12 to 15 other separate hamstring injuries over my career.
Wow.
And so you do start to get PTSD a little bit, and you're like, oh my God, it's happening again. Like, I've done so much work, but now it's happening again. Like, you start spiraling, and you're like, oh, like the world's falling.
The emotional roller coaster.
Absolutely. But then, you know, obviously Jess was a massive part. The great thing about Jess is that she's really centered, like, you know, and she's really encouraging, but she's realistic. You know, she was like, it's not that bad, you know, like, it's going to be fine. Like, you know, we'll start doing the tests. And she's like, oh, it's improving really quickly. And I'm like, okay, we won't get ahead of ourselves, but, you know, go from there. And she's like, you know, she was hesitant to sort of not give me the tick, but she wanted to make sure everything was perfect. And I wasn't the same, but I wanted to make sure everything was perfect as well. And just the attention to detail and that, getting it over the line, it's just like, yeah, it was really good. It gives you a little bit of confidence, because last thing you want to be doing is going and playing a game of footy and being scared of running full pace. Like,
yeah. I guess it's that value in having a team. You got your team on the field, but then that team off the field is like, it's even like we've had it with some of our boys. It's just like even just some positive words. It's just like again, if you can get the athlete calm, and believing in themselves, game on.
Your body doesn't function when you're stressing.
Yeah,
you're not going to, like, if you're worried about, you know, if you're like, oh, you know, even if it's something as bad as from an ACL to, you know, just like a groin niggle or something like that, like, if you're expecting to recover the way you want to recover, but you're just in a spiral, just absolutely stressing, like, chances are the amount of time you're like sitting on the couch thinking, oh my God, like, you know, I'm not going to get up. Like, you could be like, you know, maybe doing some stretches, or, you know, going in on some of the exercises you could be doing. Like, you can distract yourself. You can, you know, if you've got, like, I always love my watch. It gives me all the insights I need. You know, it tells me where I'm at. And that's a good, like, base point for me, is like, you know, I've got my stress monitor on here. I can look at my heart rate, see where it's at. Like, you know, all that throughout the day. Or, you know, I'll start to do breath work or something, center myself, look at the measurables once again, center myself. All right, back on track. What's next? All right. Jess told me I need to do some long lever iso holds or something like that. I'm going to just do them a little bit, see how it feels. Okay, it doesn't feel that bad. All right, stop spiraling. It's not that bad. It's all good. Do the next exercise. Okay, that feels all right. It's not that bad. You know, and then, because it's just, I don't know what it is in the human brain that just always makes it think worse than what it is. But
it's that, like, I guess it's primal. It's like when a stress has happened before, it's sitting in the back of the mind of, like, it's the same thing of that analogy of, like, if the old saber-toothed tiger jumps out, chases you, blah, 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 wherever you were in that time and space, and whenever you go back to that space, you've got that protective mechanism in your mind of, like, I've been in this environment before. Something stressful happened to me here before.
Yeah.
So I was just sitting there, and it just eats away. But
yeah,
I really, like, you're teaching me stuff here, like, even like that breakdown process of, like, there's an emotion, I'm going to control the emotion first. Then from there, I'm going to get an anchor to tell me and reassure me. So, like, trigger, emotional, whatever it might be. Sweet, I can see it. I can see it in my heart rate. Okay, then I myself am going to control it. Could be a walk, could be breathing, could be stretching, could be whatever it is. I'm going to pull that down. And then from there, to reassure that trigger, I'm going to do something to tell myself that this is all sweet. I'm
Yeah.
doing a long lever. Okay, the hemi's not that bad.
Yeah.
Jess told me it. I'm going to try this. She's right because I'm doing it. I'm feeling it. Cool. You've just done 3 or 4 steps on your own.
Yeah.
As an athlete to control the controllables.
Yeah.
And put yourself in forward steps. That's
exactly.
That's
it's the old saying, men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
Yeah.
That's, at the end of the day, it's like, if you need to look back on something like something that's statistical, that's right in front of you, you can see it. It's not changing. It's there because, it's been calculated. It's not up to you. It's telling you where you're at right now. Okay, what can I do about where I'm at right now? Solution, rather than spiral. Like if you quickly get in that mindset where you're looking for solutions rather than spiraling and you find another problem and then next thing you know, you're like, you're thinking, what about my mortgage this week? Oh shit, I've got to do, I haven't done the garden this week, or the house needs to clean, you can so quickly enter into other areas of your life. And then next thing you know, you haven't done anything. Like you've just sat there just stressing about things that a majority are out of your control. Like start, like I do this with my missus all the time. She's a massive stress head. Make a list. Look at it on a piece of paper. Start slowly crossing out things that, like, does this need to be done or do you want to do it? Okay. Cross. Okay. Now I've got like 2 or 3 things that I need to do, or what's bringing me the most stress in my life at the moment. Okay. I need to take care of that first.
Yeah.
If it's an injury, then you're like, all right, well, I've got to get back on track. I've got to sink myself into this, even if it's for like a week.
Yeah.
But, like you're just it's a process. I'm a process driven guy. Follow the process. As soon as you start to stray from it, then you start to, it finds a way to leak into other areas of your life. And then,
to try and perform on the weekend in a sport.
Yeah.
With all that going on.
Yeah.
Is a lot.
Yeah. Just take care of business, man.
Yeah. Which is funny because it happens to all levels of sport. Like you imagine like the pros. It's like, and then you've got 80,000 people watching you. It's like all that stuff just compounds.
Exactly. And it's when you, especially when you're a professional, as people always think like, that's why they've got people to take care of those things, for them so they can purely focus on that. It still happens to them.
Yeah.
You're still going to spiral. It's just, it's part of the thing. It's just more about how you react when you're spiraling. That's what sort of makes you, who you're going to be. It's sort of like the do or die sort of thing, but yeah.
It reminds me of there's a book called The One Thing.
Yeah.
And literally I read the thing from front to back and the whole principle is like, what's the one thing that by doing it makes everything else easy or unnecessary? That's like the one phrase that you get out of the whole book.
Yeah.
But it's literally that. It's like, what's the big thing? It's like, eat the frog first, whatever it is. Like,
yeah. It's
the one thing that's itching at you. Get that done.
Yeah.
And that can be any area. It can be in sport. It can be the gym. It can be whatever it is. You get that done. And that's like, okay, the next thing's not so hard.
Yeah.
And the next thing's not so hard. You just build it from there.
For sure. And that's like, I'm a big Hoopman lab guy, obviously. Shout out Andrew Hoop. I'm sure he's watching right now. But yeah, for me, I like learning about new things and then like how that's gonna and how it translates to me and like giving myself motivation through just a bunch of weird stuff like that. Because you can't always sustain like the same motivation. Like, all right, well, now I won my premiership last year. What's my motivation for this year, sort of thing. And if like you can't find something new, then it's hard to progress. But obviously, one thing he talked about the other week was like, well, not the other week, it was a couple months ago about the because he's a neurobiologist for those who don't know, Andrew Hoopman, and he talks about how they've just found a new part in your brain, which is like called the mid-cingulate cortex, and like they've only just started recently learning about it, and it's found in a lot of people that live for a long period of time. Their mid-cingulate cortex is actually like not swollen, but it's larger than people who die early, and it's actually directly correlated to people who do things when they don't want to do it. So people who are just like, so you find like your lazy people who are just like, oh, I can't be fucking doing this today. So I'm not going to do it. But people, so they'll have like a much smaller mid-cingulate cortex, whereas people with large mid-cingulate cortex essentially just like, I can't be fucked doing this today, but I'm just going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's associated with people who live longer and, obviously a lot of like, it's crazy the amount of like war veterans and stuff like that, that live for years and years and years because, imagine being in a position like that where you're just doing things for years and like, going to war and, waking up each day in a trench and like.
The discipline you'd build in that.
Yeah.
And that follows over into day-to-day life. And when you do feel like shit or you've got an injury or whatever it is, you're still going to do the stuff that keeps you healthy, that keeps you fit.
Yeah.
It's like all that stuff now. Like I know you went through a big runner phase.
Yeah.
Who are you running away from?
Yeah. Responsibilities.
I was gonna kind of I think I already asked this question having a coffee before, but like, and it's kind of a good segue into it. It was like I said to you, like Jazz, my partner,
Mm,
works as a nurse, and like the stuff I see her deal with, and makes me as an SSC that sits there and counts reps and stuff like appreciate the roles, like those government style roles, so much more.
mm,
But she'll still rock in with a smile on her face and ask me how my day is.
yeah,
And it's like, and I see the same thing in you where like, no matter what happens at work, you'll still roll in every day
mm,
and be consistent. So for me, and I was even thinking about this the other day when you pulled up, I think it was like a Monday or something.
yeah,
It's quite a stressful day at work. You still pulled up. It was later at night. It was after the game on the weekend, and we had a good chat. This is what happened. Da 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 da. And you still got in, got it done. And in my head, I'm like, man, how's he so consistent?
yeah. It's just
So how
yeah.
are you so consistent?
Yeah. So for me personally, I was actually talking to someone at work about this the other day, where for me, so I, one of many people in the world that do suffer from depression, anxiety. I And it's the same as what I was talking about before. It's a measurable thing. So I know that if I work out so much during the week, my brain's going to function better. I'm going to be able to be better at work. I'm going to be better at footy. I'm going to be able to do these things because I remain consistent. If I, you know, if I am struggling during the week, chances are I have probably had the same output in the gym or something like that. I know the chemicals get released when I do a workout. I know how they counteract some of the chemical imbalances that I have from, having mental illness or something like that. So the way that works for me is I probably look at it a little bit too brashly, but for me it's like do or die. That's the way I look at it. So I have to go to the gym, or I'm gonna be like shit. I'm gonna be shit this week. If I go to if I'm like, oh, I won't go to the gym on Monday, it's gonna be harder to go to the gym on Tuesday. So I'm gonna go. It's going to turn from I might go to the gym once, like from 3-4 times a week, to I might go to the gym once. And if that happens, then that's when you just start. As soon as you start letting yourself down in that regards, inconsistency bleeds in, and then it's really hard to get yourself back up and moving again. So if you're in a position where like, you're just getting just beaten down like from work or, financially or, whatever stresses that you have, every single one of them is warranted if it's making you feel like crap, but you still, at the end of the day, have control over, what you can do physically and the way that you can make your body react to that. And obviously for me, like I said, I do look at it brashly, but it is do or die for me because I have had like, some close brushes in the past with my mental illness where it got out of hand, and that was because I let the inconsistency bleed in. And then next thing you know, I'm like, oh, okay, drinking way too much, or you start like I used to smoke cigarettes. I used to next thing you know I was smoking like 20 a day. I was drinking like 10 beers a day, and just because you're like, oh well, I've had to fill that void with something else. I love working out. I love the way it makes me feel. So it's one of the classic old sayings that I always I bleed out in pre-season when I'm getting my ass beaten all the time is, it's easy when you love it. Like, and it is easy when you love it. You got to learn to love it and learn the feelings that you get from it. So
have you had to slowly learn to love it over time? Obviously,
yeah,
like has it been a gradual and like because that's one thing I'm curious of, and obviously there's different scenarios and stuff. Is like, did you go through a couple months where it's like once a week and 3 times a week, then once a week and 4 times a week and twice, and then four, or is it still like I miss days? Like, has there been a trigger moment or like a moment where things have locked in and you've stayed consistent? 'Cause that's an interesting dynamic. I feel
yeah,
like for the term consistency.
yeah. So I feel like and it's probably it's not going to be the best advice. Just shout out, but um, you sometimes you have to like feel like you're essentially just at like rock bottom.
Yeah.
And you're like, and you got to hate that feeling of
Yeah.
being there and knowing that, and sometimes depends on who you are. I do come from that old school dynamic where, you used to have those coaches and, that sort of like, if you don't do this, you're a piece of shit. You're weak. You're this, you're that, name calling, etc. And I do have that little voice in the back of my brain, but to be honest, I don't react that badly to it because it's molded in me. It's not like I suppose it's a bit different to what kids these days have to deal with. So I do have that voice in the back of my head where I'm like, I know I'm at rock bottom because I've got that voice in the back of my head being like, you haven't been in the gym in 2 weeks. You're a piece of shit. Like, you're getting fat through the guts. You probably couldn't run a kilometer if you wanted right now. That head noise and, fighting the demons and blah, 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 as we, call it in here. But, yeah, it's a difficult one, I think, just in regards to just maintaining that consistency when you have that head noise, but only for the first couple of weeks.
Mm.
After that, you're like, okay, like the noise is going away because I'm like, I'm doing work, okay, yeah, I'm losing a bit of fat through the stomach, or, I can run a kilometer now, and you're like, all right, well, what else you got to say about me? Like, it's a consistent battle with yourself. And,
do you reckon it's like, because obviously the words that come into your head is one thing. Like, I see it from two different perspectives. It's the words that's coming in just a way of just you getting close to what you feel like is you. That makes sense? Like, how, like, for me, like, I same have a voice in my head. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of business. It's a little bit of training and stuff like that as well. But it's like, it's more the gut instinct that I know I can do this.
Yeah.
And then it's just those voices that are just like,
yeah.
wait, come on, like, you can do this.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Which in a funny way is confidence.
Or is it both?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. So like, it's confidence because you're like, I know I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, what about that isn't confidence? Like, it's like there's a portion of self-esteem thing that comes into it where you're like, oh, well, mate, I'm not like, let's say, I'm not the greatest athlete, but I know I can do this. Like, you have the confidence that you can do it. Like, it's about finding that balance between the confidence and the self-esteem thing where you're like, well, why would I believe I can do something? Well, I can't do something if something in my head's telling me I can do it, because technically it's all, 90% of athletes, all the battle is upstairs. So
yeah,
it's finding that balance.
Because I feel like that's where we lock in on those negative words, and it's like that. I think that just comes from past and how we've been built up through sport and things like that. But I like that where it's like it's a confidence, or it's like look at all like life expectancy things and like having purpose, having value, and a lot of that comes back to the fact that those purposes and values are based on what you can do.
Yeah.
And it's like, for you, like, you've started to push the boundaries of what your body can do now, and you can see that growth in you. And I think that's just you going, like, shifting towards like, okay, I used to blow my hamstrings out twice a year, to, okay, I can get through a full year, to I can win a grand final, to I can do a half marathon, to oh shit, I can do this, and this. And it's like a lot of, that's just interesting perspective.
Yeah, no, I'd say I think, and not everyone's the same. I think just for clarity, I'm a full believer in using your off season to the most. Like, take a rest. Don't go try to ultras and marathons and stuff like that if you don't feel like you're up for it, and enjoy the time off sport, because it's a really big component. But if you're an absolute fucking idiot like me, and you just cannot stop making your body do things that it doesn't want to do, that's fine as well. But it's I love doing shit that I'm not supposed to be able to do. Like, that, like, the only reason I started running was because I don't like running. Yeah. So, and then I was like, all right, well, let's just see if I can find a way to enjoy this, like, it's a mental challenge. I mean, I've, talked about, fighting the demons and the head noise and stuff like that. There is no more present of a way to do that than go for a run, and you really, really find out, if you, especially if you're raw dogging it, no earphones or something like that, you go for it, you go for like an hour, or a couple of hour run or something like that. Yeah. Couldn't think of the term, but, you go for a run with no headphones on, you just like, you go for a run for 2 hours and you're like, oh my God, it's just me and my thoughts here for 2 hours. And I'm doing something that I actually fucking hate doing, which is running. Like, and there's something compelling about that where you're like, and then when you finish it, you're like, oh, it's not that bad. Like, maybe I'll go for a 2.5 hour run, 3 hour run. Just see, wait, or you look around the world and you see people doing like, 2-day ultra marathons and stuff.
Did you see was it the Ultraman? The guy that did it across Great Britain?
Oh, yeah,
so ran, rode, and then kayaked across Great Britain. And it's like, I guess we're in that
He's got
lucky.
like the gingerish beard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his
Yeah, pretty
young girl passed away of childhood cancer,
that's
like
the
8 months
one.
old,
Yeah.
and he just lit that fire in him, and he's like, obviously, I think he raised like $200,000, £200,000,
Yeah.
which is like $1 million.
Yeah. In this
Um,
economy, am I right?
yeah, for childhood cancer, and
Yeah.
like obviously, like it's crazy that where it starts and then where you can build it to. And I see something like that, and I'm like, what's the human body going to do next?
Yeah.
It's crazy how much we can put ourselves through, especially when there's a deep desired purpose, and obviously that's different to each person.
Oh, for sure. And like, I was even listening to a song, like, funny actually, just because you said fire, and like, I was actually listening to a song on the way here, and and they said like, find your fire, find your air, and that's what's going to keep it burning. It's just like sometimes all you need is those two elements. Like, you've got the fire, you've got your want and you've got your reason, and that's just going to keep that fire burning. Like, and that's like, something like that, something as big and as childhood cancer, and something that so many people can get behind like that. It then adds the element of like, a little bit more focus. Like, can't fucking do it now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's a crazy feat. Same as the guy who ran from top to toe in Africa as well. Just stuff like that. Like, you see people do shit like that, and you're like, oh, okay, the human body is capable of some crazy things. I watch ultra marathon videos on YouTube all the time, just 15-minute shorts. I watched this. I can't remember her name now. She's a female ultra runner. She did the Tahoe 200, this 200-mile run with 6,000 feet of elevation. For those who don't know how big 6,000 feet of elevation is, it's the same height as Mount Everest. So, and she broke the record by 10 hours, I think it was. So 200 miles as well as 360 k's. Of those who can't do the maths, and if I got that wrong, don't hold it against me. I got a head knock yesterday. So, she did it in 49 hours, and I think for like the first 100 k's of that run, because you have your aid stations where you stop to fuel up, you have to do that, otherwise you're going to die. She couldn't stomach any of the food, so her like team was just at every single station was just like trying to find a different food and feeding her something different each time, and then she eventually found that she could stomach pancakes and maple syrup. Sick.
Oh,
great option.
Good choice.
But just so crazy that for like, she was running this crazy ultra, trying to break the record, like the previous record, and she didn't eat for the first 100 k's, which in ultra marathon is just crazy.
Yeah,
is wild, and to still get over the line and do that, like you see people do that, and like the mental fortitude you have to do those things is like, it's just a different source, like, and it just makes you, and it puts in perspective. Obviously, not saying that what we all do is like insignificant, but it does make it feel a little bit, and it shows you how small your ambitions are, and it kind of, I think to me, it kind of simplifies it a little bit,
and how achievable they are.
I mean, look what the human body can do. Like, these people are nutcases, and it's not necessarily because they are great athletes. It's just because they have something a bit different upstairs. And sometimes it's because they are a little bit psycho, but
we all.
Exactly.
But it just puts. I always see that stuff, and I'm like, all right, okay, I can do more.
Yeah.
And I think that's a cool thing. That's how half the reason they do what they do is for people around the world to look at that and go, all right, I can do more. I can do better. I can help someone else or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty cool knock on it. It's just like a core sporting thing. It's that whole inspirational element of like inspiring those around you to lift up together and do something better.
Oh, for sure. And on that as well, I mean, majority of the people who do these crazy things, they all have a great support base, and usually a very loving and encouraging partner, which obviously we both have. It's a very, very big element in it, and so for our younger athletes, if your mum's still around or your dad's still around, they support you. Make sure you like really thank them. Do not take it for granted, because they are like having your support base, and your home is the biggest thing when you're trying to get through anything. If it's sport based, life based, anything like that, you got to use the things. If they're there to help you, it's because they want to be there. Make sure you use that to your fullest advantage, because not everyone has it, and if you've got it, they're awesome for being there.
Yeah, it's today's number one lesson.
Yeah,
go thank your parents.
Go thank your parents. Go thank your missus. Buy them some flowers every now and again. Take them out to dinner, or cook your parents dinner. Clean your bedroom, whatever. Just show that you appreciate it. Showing gratitude is one of the best things you can do in life. People love gratitude.
Oh yeah.
And chicks love flowers as well. So yeah, hot topic.
Ben's tips for the young boys.
Yeah, because there's one thing I know.
Old school, man.
Yeah,
Keep it old school. Be gentlemanly.
Absolutely.
I got a couple final questions. So first one, I think we kind of touched on a little bit, but like, what's Keith like as a coach?
Keith is
someone hasn't been here before. Thinking about coming and perform.
Yeah.
Keith's their coach. What do they expect?
You're getting a obviously very knowledgeable man. He's always so invested in you, your progress, where you're at. You're going to get a funny little hype man as well. He's if you're hitting a PB here, he's going to be there on the squat rack, even though sometimes when you're lifting a little bit too much weight, you're kind of like, oh, maybe Keith, you got to let someone else in. But you're gonna get a great little hype man. He gets around you. He's so involved and emotionally invested in what you do, and it's almost a bit of like it's a bit of a grip, because it forces you to be better, because you see how invested someone is in you. And if you don't have that in your life, it's really, really nice to have someone like Keith like that, who's so emotionally invested in you, and you feel like you have to pay him back a bit. See the work he does. He was one of the first here at this gym. He's as much involved as anyone is.
Right.
So yeah, you just get you get a good motivator, you get a good friend, and obviously a really knowledgeable trainer. I think those are the three big ticks from Keith. Yeah, love that little man. Even though I don't always show it, sometimes get a bit grumpy with him, because after a hard day at work, it's he can be a lot. But no, I do love him.
He's the second Mr. Sick opposite.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
This is what happened. This is what happened. This is what happened.
Oh, mate.
And he's tight. Yeah. I'll fix it.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's all over it. But yeah, I mean, that's a two-pronged road as well, because you got to make sure you communicate with him as well. Otherwise, because you don't want him finding out that you're doing half marathon 3 or 4 weeks out.
Not great.
But yeah, I mean, but what I've learned from that as well is that obviously when you do start doing marathons, half marathons, you actually may have to make sure you tell everyone about it, like 3 or 4 months prior, because that's the best part about running, is the attention and clout. So yeah.
Get the reels up.
Yeah, get the reels. Absolutely. Yeah, day in the life. Yeah, get ready with me before my 5K run today.
So Benny's actually going to do one of these for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
As the intro for the podcast.
Yeah. Oh my god. Don't have no interest in being a run influencer. I think that is there's very low standards for being a run influencer. Be careful what you watch on the internet, because a lot of it is shit. Zone 2 running exists, but not in the way that everyone tells you it exists. It's a lie. Don't listen to the propaganda. Make sure you filter out people who you're taking running advice from on the internet, because I've seen a few of those off topic. I've seen a few of those coming up where like people are calling other people out about it. But anyway, it's getting bad. But whatever. No, I'm worked up now. Let's get in it.
So we've obviously talked through a couple, but they're just like the big takeaways. What's your big takeaways we've got a Perform youth athlete in here. What's your pieces of advice for them as Mr. Number 1, first jersey up on the wall, day 1 Benny Cowdray? What's your advice to our youth athletes here?
Just trust the process. Like, it's if you're playing a sport, obviously you're playing a sport for coming in stupid. But if you're playing a sport and you come in here because you want to better yourself, don't expect everything to happen all at once. One thing you need to learn as a young kid is patience. You won't learn it, but it's one thing you need to learn. It's part of being a kid. You don't have patience, but if you can start learning patience, trusting the process, trying to find that confidence in yourself, where you're like, okay, I'm going to get better each week. Keep following the process. Don't take days off. If you feel like you need to go home and play some Fortnite or whatever you're doing these days, then just take the arvo off and go do a workout in the gym. It's still going to pay off in the end. It's just about patience, taking the long road. It's a better journey.
And then I guess also those objective, I like that. I really like that. Those objective anchors for the kids.
Well, I mean, it's easier when you don't have to deal with numbers on a day-to-day basis, but I can understand for kids that are at school that finding measurables can be a little bit of a brain thing. But if you can figure out and find your measurables for you at a young age, then you're setting yourself up for being in your mid-20s, when people are trying to find their measurables, finding what works for them, they're going to be, 10 years behind you essentially. So if you're like, you're young, you can figure out things that work for you. Even if it's like finding a place for you to just go and decompress, finding out a way that you can sort your stresses out, if it's writing it on a piece of paper, if it's talking to someone about it, find an outlet, find people who give you sound advice. Like obviously the team here is awesome at it. Be vulnerable, be open about what you're feeling, where your body's at, and just take advantage of the resources that you have, really. I mean, like I said, it's a patience thing, and it's being a coach, obviously you have to learn patience as well, and with the kids. So I think it's everything's going to happen over a period of time. Your body's probably going to be changing over that period of time as well. Lots of things are going to be changing, but the one thing you can remain is consistent in your training. And
yeah, cool. And then what's next for you?
Well, I did I hopefully winning another premiership. That'd be awesome. And then after that, I'm pretty much going to start running again in the off season. And I was supposed to be doing
take your own advice.
Yeah, so backtracking on that. I've got a different set of rules for me. I'm very good at giving other people.
So hopefully
advice.
Keith is listening, just so he gets told
Yeah,
before it happens.
To be fair, I did say that I have been saying I was going to do the 50k ultra in October.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be happening. Now, as the season progresses on, and like my runner's knee is getting better, but it's not going to be well enough so that when I finish, I'm going to be able to get to the capacity of running 50 kilometers non-stop with a month of training. Once footy season finishes, because I can't run during the week at the moment because it's a bit cooked. So what's next for me is finding a more suitable date to run an ultra marathon. Nice. Probably going to be later on in the year, and giving myself some time and
patience. Yeah.
And I will be consistent in my approach, and I will not overdo it, and I will not start running 100 kilometers a week.
And I'll keep a track on my measurables.
Yes, and I will keep a track on my measurables. Yes, I will live by my own advice. Hopefully.
I think we've got to finish on that. That was great. Thank you for coming on. I think we're obviously it was necessary to have you. Very necessary to have you as the first official guest of the Perform podcast.
Yeah.
And we can't thank you enough for being here. You're a big asset of this gym, and we appreciate you a lot.
I appreciate it, Bress.
Thanks, Benny.